In our final segment, we've learned how to navigate throughout PowerTeacher Pro. We've learned how to adjust our settings and organize our gradebook. Now we're going to go in and create assignments. So we're going to start out at this Create button. And we're going to go down to Assignment. We're going to give it an assignment name. So I'm going to call it a new assignment. I can select classes. Now this is important because we're grading by standards. It's important that you select the same subject area. So I cannot select an assignment and use English, math, history, science as all the same classes for that same assignment because they all have different standards. Now, if you are co-teaching, as we described in the previous video, and you have 3 English classes for the same grade, then you can certainly go in and select all 3 of those and assign the same assignment with the same standards. But for our purposes, we're just setting up a single grade book, so we're going to leave our selected class alone. We have the name. We did categories before, so I'm going to make this an in-class assignment or classwork. You can pick the category. Due date. So a due date is an interesting piece because we're going to talk a little bit about the public access to your gradebook. No fear, that is not going to be available during the first trimester. So during the entire first trimester, we're going to keep that closed off from parent access so that you guys all have time to learn and grow within the gradebook. But this will become a factor as the gradebook becomes public. So I'm going to set a due date. You have to have a due date. All these things with asterisks are required to have in order to create an assignment. What we're going to encourage you down in this bottom part is to not use points, but to use this 4 through 1 scale, because that is the scale that we use for all standards-based grading. Points will just factor into how many extra points are there assigned to it. It's all on base 10 usually, so we can leave it as 10. We can set it up as 1, however you want to set that piece up. A description for now is not required. I would encourage you to have a brief description because as parents start to get into your gradebook, they will want to know why or what specifics are going with this assignment. Other things you can do within this description which can be valuable, especially for longer assignments, if they're projects or big tests that you have rubrics for, or you have other handouts that you've given for this specific assignment, you can link those right here. So if you have a Google document and you want to link a PDF or link something from your Google folders, you can do that here as well, so that students and or parents have access to this later on. They have a reference, so it makes it easier. So that's the first page. The second tab is for students. You can select specific students to assign something for. What we've talked about in the past is, let's say you have a small group of students going on to SciCon and the other group are not going to SciCon. Let's say it's 50-50 and you want to do different assignments. You can do that. But for most of our purposes, all the students in the class are going to get the same assignments. We'll do an advanced page later on how to move and assign separately. So the next and probably most important piece are the standards. So we're going to navigate through standards, and the standards are important because it's how we're going to reflect those in the report card, how we need to grade in the gradebook. So what we're reflecting in the report card are just the parent standards. So as you come down here and you see after ELA, you see this RF. So Reading Foundations, that's one parent standard. So all these RFs are under Reading Foundations. Also under R are the information, so RI. So if we come up here to the informational text, that's another parent standard. There'll be an RL for literature. There's a writing, and there's a speaking and listening. Those are all parent standards within English Language Arts. What we're going to ask you to do for the very first assignment under each parent standard is to make sure you grade the parent standard as well. So for reading foundations, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to choose that parent standard. And let's say I'm going to ask students to read with sufficient accuracy and fluency to support comprehension. That's what I'm going to grade them on. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to select both of those. You can select more than one. These are the two that I'm going to grade for this assignment. After I've graded this foundational skills one time, I don't have to use this again, but you can always use the parent standards. And then finally, I'm going to come to this publish. So the publish is important. Again, when we talk about using this as a public document and parent access and student access, this will become a much more important piece. You can always do it immediately. That's a fine place to start out with. But if you and your team are working together collaboratively and you come up with a month's worth of assignments and you want to populate your gradebook and do it all at one time on one of your work sessions, you can do that. My recommendation would be to do the days before due. So this one right here, you can do specific dates, but then you have to get very detailed in how you want to do that. The days before due, you remember we set up a due date already. So I can come in here and I can say, I want this to become public 10 days before it's due. Then I don't have to come back to it. I can save it and I don't have to worry about it. I'll see it in my gradebook the whole time. Parents and students won't see it in the gradebook until 10 days before it becomes a due assignment. So if you have a big test or a major project, you can put it in the gradebook whenever you want. Last year, I can tell you with our pilot schools, we had some teams, they did almost the entire trimester. They mapped out and did all their assignments and they set up these due dates. And so that we didn't have them all published at the same time, but they were all available in their gradebook for them to have mapped out. So it was kind of a set it and forget it kind of idea. It's a useful task. So now I've gone through, I've given it a name, I've set up the grade scale, I've picked my standards, I've set up when I want to publish it. So I'm going to hit save and close. And now I can go in, it'll be an assignment. You can see this new assignment. If I want to change anything about the assignment, I can go over here to this edit button. It'll bring up that same set of windows. So I can go right here to the edit. And again, I have my assignment tabs. I can put in my descriptions. I have my standards that I've chosen. This is just the ones I selected. So I can go in and I can hit show all and I can show all the others later on. So I'm going to save and close that. So now I can go to score the assignment, and scoring the assignment is over here under the score sheet as well. But I can go over here and I can say, you know what, they got on this one, and I can either do my numeric pad, or if I'm doing it on a tablet, I can go over here and this student got a 4 and hit enter. I can fill down as well. So I can go down, I can right mouse button, I can click on these and I can copy and paste, and I can fill all the way down on these assignments so that if every student got a 3 on it, I can make my work much faster doing that. But if I want to go individually score these, this student got a 2.5, this student got a 3, this student got a 2. So I can go through and score those quickly, and then I can save those scores. And that's the end of adding scores to your gradebook.